Hello and welcome to Ramblings of 42-Year-Old Man. Chris Smith here today and with you today. Let me get that out right. Thank you for joining. We are going to continue our coverage of Final Fantasy XII. For those of you who were able to watch yesterday, we went through the development, the gameplay, and the characters of the story and got kind of to our end of our allotted time for yesterday. So today we're going to pick up with the story itself. We're going to go, like I mentioned yesterday, broad overview of the story, because if I went too deep, we would have many, many days of videos to have to do. So we're just going to kind of do broad strokes of the story, make sure that we get the gist of everything that's happening, and then we'll do the legacy of the game. We'll talk a little bit about the sequel and the remakes and things like that as we go forward. So please stay tuned. We're going to go ahead and kick off with the beginning of the actual story of the game. So we open Final Fantasy XII. There is a opening prologue that is showing the wedding of Princess Ashe of Dalmasca and Prince Rossler of the neighboring country of what's it called? Nabradia. And the Arcadian Empire is then shown invading both kingdoms. Rossler, unfortunately, is killed during the war, and we briefly control a character named Rex. We do come to find out later that Rex is our main character, Vaughn's older brother. Not much older. This guy's maybe 17 years old at this point, I think. But we're going through him. We kind of get our tutorial of the game. This is how you fight. This is how the battle system works, blah, blah, blah. We meet Bosch for the first time. And then, unfortunately, we get to the end of the prologue, and we find the king of Dalmasca murdered by somebody who looks a lot like Bosch. And then that character that looks like Bosch also kills us, our character of Rex. And you know, our main character, who we've been using for about the last probably 20 or 30 minutes or so during this prologue, dies, unfortunately. And that's kind of gets us to the end of our prologue, and then we'll get into the main section of the game, starting with Vaughn. So now, past the prologue, we are now Vaughn. We are in the city of Rabnaster, which is the capital city of Dalmasca, and we meet Penelo. We're going on odd jobs throughout town. We got to go on our first hunt. And then we end up, these odd jobs we're doing is try to prepare the city for this coronation of Vayne Salador as the consul to Dalmasca. So he is the son of the emperor. He's not controlling things yet at this point, but he is going to, he's kind of been given control of Dalmasca. That's his territory to run at this point. So Vaughn decides that he's going to use this ceremony as a distraction to break into the palace, get into the vault, try to see what kind of treasures he can get. The way he feels, he's stealing from the Empire. He's not stealing from Dalmasca. This is now owned by the Empire. He's going to steal from the Empire. So he goes in, he finds this really cool magical crystal thing. It's called nethicite, manufactured nethicite. Remember that. It's going to be a big part of this game. As he's there, Balthier and Fran, two thieves, show up as well. And they want that nethicite as well. While they're kind of fighting over who gets to have that, unfortunately, the alarm sounds. They are captured. Actually, not yet. They're not captured yet. They escape for now to the sewers. And while they're in the sewers, they run into Ashe, who's down there somehow. We don't know it's Ashe just yet, though. She calls herself Amalia, and she's leading a resistance unit that's down in the sewers. We work with her for a little bit, but then unfortunately we are captured as we try to escape by the Empire. And then we wake up in the dungeons. So we wake up in the dungeons. Vaughn, Balthier, Fran, Ashe is nowhere to be found, so they've separated us from her, but the three of us are in the Nalbina dungeons. While we're there, we find Bosch. Bosch is being held there and being kind of strung up. He's hanging by chains and stuff. We see Judge Gabranth for the first time coming in his full-on armor and everything, kind of goading Bosch and you know, tell him how he failed and everything. You can see there's a lot of animosity between these two people. We also do get to see his face, and we do see that he looks a lot like Bosch. I wonder how that happened. So anyway, we get Bosch. Vaughn, really, he's furious. He wants to kill Bosch because he thinks Bosch killed his brother, you know. But Bosch proclaims his innocence. He says that his twin is Gabranth, and Gabranth was pretending to be him, and with Balthier and Fran kind of calming Vaughn down, saying, hey, we need this guy to be able to escape anyway. So the four of them group together, they escape out of the dungeon, and they head back to Rabnaster. Once we get there, we find that Penelope has been kidnapped, and this was a plan by some rivals of Balthier, who happen to see Balthier working with Vaughn and knows that Vaughn knows Penelo. So they think that by kidnapping Penelo, they'll be able to get Balthier out in the open. So we are able to talk Balthier into taking us to the Sky City of Bujerva, which is where Penelo is being held. And so that's where we're up to now. We get on the airship. We're flying on an airship, but we don't really have control of where we're going yet. We're going straight to Bjerba to try to get Penelo. So we get to Bjerba. We run into Larsa. We don't know he's Larsa yet. This is Vayne Salador's younger brother, Larsa. At this point, we think he's a kid named Lamont, who just happens to offer to help us save Penelo. He's doing his own thing as well. I think he's trying to look for a source of nethicite on his side as well. But we are able to kind of work with him to go and save Penelo, and excuse me. We escape from the people who are holding her, and you know, we now have kind of Penelo, and we realize that this is now Larsa, and unfortunately we are captured by the Empire by the end of all of this, and we are taken to the airship Leviathan. We see that that's where Princess Ash is now. She's being held here on this airship as well. Lucky for us, we found her, and we go ahead and get her. We break her out. Vossler kind of helps us to escape at this point. He comes in as a guest and helps us to escape from the Leviathan. Unfortunately, during our escape, we lose the nethicite that Vaughn and both Theer and Fran had been stealing, because that evidently is a way for Ash to prove her claim to the throne. Unfortunately, by losing it to the Empire, she needs a new way to be able to prove her claim to the throne. And so our next part of this journey is we're going to go look for the Dawn Shard as a way for Ash to be able to prove her royalty, pretty much. You know, both Theer and Fran agree to go because, hey, we're helping a princess. Money out of that deal, right? Vaughn and Penelo decide to go because, well, I don't quite know. I think they're just really interested in being involved in all of this. And, of course, Bosch is defending Ash at this point. And Vossler is helping us out at this point as well as we go look for the Dawn Shard. So we end up at Wraithwall's tomb, where we're looking for the Dawn Shard so we can prove Ash's claim to the Dalmascan throne, right? Vossler's helping us out. We go in, we find the Dawn Shard, we're coming out, and guess what? Vossler has betrayed us and has told the Empire where we're at. He has done so, in his words, to protect Dalmasca. The Empire has said that they can, you know, work with Dalmasca's sovereignty and stuff if they will just, you know, let them have Ash, and with Ash they'd be able to, you know, get peace and whatever. But of course, it's a ploy by the Empire. They do not want peace. They want to use Ash as like a puppet to control. So we end up fighting Vossler, and we end up on the Leviathan again. They take the Dawn Shard from us, and they try to power the Leviathan with the Dawn Shard, thinking, hey, this is stronger than manufactured nethicite, because this is like pure, true nethicite. So they try to power the ship. Fran goes crazy because the magics from this thing are insane, and she can tell that this is not going to go well. So we grab a ship, we get out of there, and yeah, it does not go well. Gigantic explosion blows away all of the Arcadian fleet that was there, which was a big chunk of their airship fleet. Good for us, though, right? Got rid of a whole bunch of them, but unfortunately, we lost the Dawn Shard. So how are we going to prove Ash's legitimacy to the throne? That's where we'll be next. So we are still looking for a way of proving Ash's claim to the throne, right? So we are going to travel to a place called Mount Baramaces. There is a religious leader. He's kind of the leader of all the religion of Ivalice. And we're hoping that we can beg him to approve of Ash's claim as Queen of Dalmasca. On the way, we run into Larsa again. We know it's Larsa this time. And he is attempting to broker peace between Arcadia and Dalmasca. He's hoping that going to Mount Baramaces would be, you know, get with the religious leader there, get his approval and help in doing so. Unfortunately, when we're there, we do another little mission, and we come back, and the religious leader has been killed by the Empire at the same, or just after anyway, Vayne has killed his father and has taken over as emperor. And now the Empire is just very much in, like, takeover mode. There's no talks of peace or anything. Larsa's kind of on his own with that. There's just total takeover and annihilation at this point. So we decided that we're going to start heading over to Arcadia to kind of be able to petition as, you know, Ash being the leader of Dalmasca and stuff. That's funny. I say we travel to Arcadia like it's that's fast. This is probably 10 to 20 hours of gameplay getting from this point to Arcadia. Just the way to get there is a long trip, but we're just going to say we travel to Arcadia because I'm not going to get into just how long it takes us to get there. So we get to Arcadia and we run into Dr. Sid, Balthier's father, the creator of manufactured nethicite. And he goads us into traveling to Giravegan, the same city where he went to, where he came back is really kind of nuts because that is the source of nethicite. And he thinks that, you know, Ash wants nethicite, not necessarily just proof her claim, but she thinks that she's going to use it to take her revenge on the Empire. And I don't think he's wrong. At this point, Ash is very much in the I want revenge mode. So he's probably not wrong in his assumption. So we travel to Giravegan. We meet the immortal beings called the Ecurians. We mentioned this a little bit in our character part. The Ecurians, they are a race, a mortal race who kind of pulls the strings of history, as you would say, pretty much controlling the way that the people, the humans and the other races are, you know, the way the history runs. So they tell the story of Vana, the rogue Ecurian who is helping Vayne. His hopes that Vayne will become strong enough that he can take back the reins of man from the Ecurians. So pretty much rebelling against the Ecurians, controlling everything. He wants the history of man to be controlled by men, which sounds cool, but in order to do so, he's powering Vayne to take over the world pretty much so that he can be strong enough to, I guess, he plans on unifying the world all under Vayne, but very totalitarian, authoritarian, and just not so good. So the Ecurians tell Ash that if she goes and cuts a piece of the Suncrest off, she can make her own nethicite, which will then give her the power to get her revenge against the Empire. She can take control of her throne. She can be the queen of all, you know, pretty much. And Ash, who at this point is so consumed by revenge, is like, yeah, let's do that. And so we do start traveling to the Suncrest in order to help Ash get her revenge. All right, so on the way to the Suncrest, we run into Redis, the Sky Pirate, former judge of the Empire, and he helps us get through the pillars where the Suncrest is at to the Suncrest itself, where Ash has the choice of, you know, cutting a piece of Suncrest and taking it and becoming powerful and getting her revenge. Gabranth shows up there and he's kind of goading her into it. He has become very disheartened with the way that the Empire is and how the things that he's had to do. He's got so much inner conflict about everything he's had to do. He sees Larsa and he loves Larsa and the piece that Larsa wants and stuff, but he's working for Vayne. He's having to do all this stuff. And he's I don't want to say worried, but that he assumes that Ash is going to be the same way, wanting power and wanting control and authority and stuff. So we end up getting into a battle with Gabranth. We defeat him. Ash gets up the Suncrest, and she chooses, instead of revenge, she destroys the Suncrest, getting rid of the source of nethicite, so there won't be any way of having this kind of power by people anymore. So yeah, so the Suncrest is destroyed. Gabranth sees this and is kind of taken aback by the fact that she's not wanting power. And then we escape out of that area and see that the Arcadian forces are now controlling a sky fortress called Bahamut. So we infiltrate it before it's on the way to attack Ravnaster and any rebellion that's happening in that area. We infiltrate the fortress. We find Larsa there. He's pleading with Vayne to not do this, to use peace instead of war. And Vayne ends up attacking Larsa, but Gabranth is able to defend Larsa from Vayne, and then we end up fighting Vayne. We defeat Vayne. Vanat kind of uses Vayne and imbues him with so much power and stuff that he creates a creature called the Undying, which we end up having to fight, and thankfully the Undying is able to die, and we defeat him. We defeat Vayne, we defeat Vanat. Everything's done with that. Larsa and Ash are able to have peace. Larsa becomes the Emperor. Ash becomes Queen of Dalmasca, has sovereignty for Dalmasca, and Bosch is, after kind of the battle with Vayne, you know, Bosch and Gabranth have a moment together where Gabranth is dying, and they kind of make their peace, and Gabranth says, please, protect Lord Larsa. He is good. He is, with him running the Empire, life will be so much better. And so Bosch does. Bosch becomes Larsa's protector. He actually takes Gabrant's armor, and being that they look so much alike, he's able to pretty much portray himself as Gabrant, since Bosch was supposedly this traitor, right? And then Vaan has become a sky pirate along with Penelo. As we were escaping from Bahamut, Balthier and Fran actually kind of got left behind because they were helping us to escape, and we think that they're, you know, they are destroyed along with the fortress. Luckily, though, we find that they have not been. They come back and they get their airship from Vaan and Penelo, kind of leaving them a note like, "Thank you for watching the ship for us." And so Penelo and Vaan get on their own airship, and they follow for further adventures as sky pirates. And that's the end of Final Fantasy XII. All right, so Legacy of Final Fantasy XII, it was released to critical acclaim. It was one of only 6 games at this point in time that had been given perfect scores by Famitsu, which is a very well-known Japanese video game magazine. A sequel, Final Fantasy XII Remnant Wings, was greenlit really quickly, and it was a Nintendo DS game. It came out in 2007, and rather than our mainline series, this one is much more like Final Fantasy Tactics. It's that tactical role-playing kind of strategy game in the vein of the Final Fantasy Tactics series. You'll play through as Vaan doing his Sky Pirate adventures, and Penelo's in there. You'll probably see a lot of the characters from Final Fantasy XII show up. I'll be honest, I've never played this game myself, but it is very much like a Tactics Final Fantasy type game. There was a high-def remaster of Final Fantasy XII release called the Zodiac Age. It came out on the PS4 in 2017. It was also released on Steam the next year for PC. And then in 2019, it was released on Switch and the current Xbox consoles as well. So it is all over the place. The Zodiac Age is fun. You got a revamped license system. It almost makes it, you have like character classes where like in the original game, you can pretty much just learn everything on the board and every character can pretty much be the same. This gives you more like character-specific kind of things that you have to choose from. So it's kind of a fun way to play it by actually having characters in the game that have specific skills. It's fun. So yeah, that is Final Fantasy XII. I'll be honest, this is the last one of the series that I officially love. Final Fantasy XIII was all right. It was definitely not my favorite. I don't know that I'd say I dislike it, but it's, of all the Final Fantasy games, it's my least favorite. Let me put it that way. I have not played the sequels to those yet, although I have heard really good things about 13-2 specifically. And Final Fantasy 15 I did enjoy. It was not quite as high on my list as most of the other Final Fantasies. So at this point, my huge love of Final Fantasy is kind of stops here. I'm really hopeful for Final Fantasy 16 to really knock it out. I want to be able to come back. But Final Fantasy 12 was my last love of the series. And amazing game, lots of fun, and kind of the end of that PlayStation 2 era. Our next game we'll talk about is Final Fantasy XIII, which was on the PlayStation 3. We'll talk a little bit about the sequels. As I said, I had not played those, so I won't go into story or anything because I really don't know the story, but we'll talk about them a little bit, the release dates and where they went, and so forth. And so that's it. That's our coverage of Final Fantasy XII. Thank you for listening to me ramble. 2 days, I think we'll package this into, so be on the lookout for yesterday's video, today's video. Hopefully you'll get the whole gist of Final Fantasy XII. Thank you for listening to me ramble. We'll talk again soon.